Big shout out to the Radnor Raptors. Fun of talking about future food right now is about going ahead. The go is to proceed, not to wait for government, not to wait for the big corporations, but there are things we're going to talk about that you can do literally today to get started. Let's go ahead and proceed. Big old medical disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm trained as an architect, UVA undergrad, and then my master's at Penn. So this is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Had to put that out there. Next slide. Little UPenn I referenced, the Sustainable Business Network as a prior board member, instructor with Student Farmers, Green and Save, and the author. If you have not yet gotten a signed copy of the book, Chapter 14 covers indoor farming. There's lots about sustainability and other things that you can do to activate intelligence in your life and in your workplace as you grow and learn beyond graduation. Next slide. Fresh, local, healthy, affordable, and sustainable. Not bad aspirations for the future of food. We're not even close in the U.S. with the current food supply chain to reaching just about any of these, and we'll talk about how we can improve what is out there right now. Next slide. Okay, problems. There are a few of these we're going to go through pretty quickly. Unhealthy America. Does not look like that's an issue here today, but this obesity in the U.S. is real. 19.7, right? Coming up on 20%. It doubles. Now, it doubles for lots of reasons. I don't know if you guys have been in a grocery store, but there are things that are processed. So, as an example, I'm not going to pick on any particular brand. This is processed food. It is not actually the food source called potatoes. So it has, in cost, almost 10 times per pound the cost of the potatoes. It's really not something that we want to embrace as a culture because it costs money to produce, to transport, and for a couple dollars a tube, you can get the equivalent of an entire meal for literally families with the potato equivalent. So this is about today, actionable intelligence to not default to the things that corporations have just manufactured. Off to the next slide. Long distance. 90%, right? Big number. We're talking about California and Arizona. 2,400 miles away from many parts of the United States. Some of the lettuce that is going to be served at the salad mix for this high school is going to come from outside of the state and the region. It's amazing that we've built since the Second World War an agriculture complex that is so complicated. When COVID hit, the prices all went up because the transportation cost is high as a factor of moving and producing that food. Next slide. 46% loss of key nutrients. So now this nutrient loss is real because as it's moving, they typically might take that lettuce and keep it in the mid to high 30-degree temperature. Not freezing, just crazy cold. Well, it is moving over the course of a week from the picker to the truck to the 18-wheeler, to the train, to the distribution center, all the way through the system until it gets to the grocery store, and then they throw it in some cold water and it perks back up. Looks like it's actually alive, but it is only about half alive. It has lost those nutrients. So today we're also going to talk about producing food that retains the nutrients. Next slide, climate change. We've heard a lot about climate change. I think climate change was missold in the 70s as like the polar bears are going to slip off the ice. How about like better gut health? How about we're going to run out of food and we're not going to have enough water and nutrients to feed a growing population? So 24% of greenhouse gas emissions, which contributes to the climate change, comes mostly from agriculture. So who knew, right? This is crazy that the cultivation of crops and livestock and the deforestation to clear land to produce the food contribute so much more to climate change than anyone had thought. Next slide. Here's the chart. This is like, a little organization called the Environmental Protection Agency, like the government. 24%, not 14% for transportation. And I'm the one with the electric car, and I'm the one with the house that has the solar that plugs in and all the eco-friendly stuff. I happen to grow a bunch of my own food. That's the Plant Planet message. But it's a surprising number. So here's what I put up for you guys today. If you only remember one thing, remember this. Production of food contributes more to climate change than the cars we drive. All the advertising, all the marketing, it's all about that idea of energy production. but it's energy that goes into the food and the water that we use and all those other factors that contribute to climate change. Next slide. Okay, good news. So that's sort of the grim stuff, right? That like, it's not the world's coming to an end, it just we need to be conscious of these factors. Local indoor vertical farming has some advantages. So let's take a look. 10 to 20 times more yield per acre. Right, so if we have 1 acre of land, we can take that piece and grow corn on it, we could grow lettuce on it outside, or we can put it under roof and we can grow 10 times as much food. In some cases 20, depending on how you rack and stack the levels. 70 to 90% less water. Well, we take water for granted, right? The aquifers and the rivers are not infinite in terms of how we can use that water. So let's go on to the next slide and I'll show you some of the good news. Controlled environment agriculture has come from that research about how we can be more efficient indoor farming than outdoor farming. So this is a high-tech indoor farm diagram. It was one of the roots for the patent that I initially had filed and was invited down to Kennedy Space Center to NASA before COVID to present this solution for colonizing Mars. Interesting meeting, that was pretty exciting. If you have plants on the roof of a building, that's great. That's the greenhouse with the free light. But you can also use the light to generate electricity that can power LED lights. Those LED lights can grow plants. They can adjust up and down so that as the plants are growing, you can optimize the use of those photons. We can feed the roots with the waste from fish. Sounds a little gross, but fish effluents is high in nitrogen. We can have a nitrogen bacteria filtration system for nitrifying bacteria. And what we can do is feed the plants to the fish. So an herbivore fish like a tilapia can eat duckweed, can eat algae. So a portion of what we grow feeds the plants. You give me a boy and a girl fish and a bag of seeds, off we go to Mars. We can live up there for like 20 to 25 years. Not bad. This is a closed loop. I started calling it the perpetual food machine because it embodies all those principles of continual sustainability. Let's go on to the next slide. Here are some examples. You've seen greenhouses, right? That's a great way to take free electrons producing photons, all those good things from the sun, into the energy supply chain for food. Well, that's the rooftop. The on-site campus cases can be right here at a school, that maybe it's high school, maybe it's a grade school, maybe it's even a corporate office center. Starting to think about growing food closer to where we eat becomes critical. The other thing with shipping containers is we can grow it right in parking lots. So this idea is bringing food closer than those California and those Arizona farms. We did one of these for the Philadelphia Zoo. Thanks Ben Franklin for creating the first zoo here in Philadelphia way back in the day. We get the credit for the first zoo that produces on-site its own food for the herbivores. The rhinos, the hippos, the giraffes, and some of the primates. 26 different species. So what's exciting is this is all doable now. That's the mention of the right now in future food. We don't have to wait way down the road. Next slide. Solution 2 is the lab tech. So this is manufactured food, and we're talking about really high-tech things that you would not be able to do here in your own life. Like, I don't know, mushrooms that are converted into like bacon-like food, and this is that synthetic, trend that we're all seeing with the like Impossible burgers and those Beyond Beef products. Seaweed for protein substitutes, lots of money, billions of dollars going into ag tech, which is very exciting. But the reality is, unlike the first solution, which is basically growing food indoors, it's the same food versus trying to make food from something else. Insects, people eat insects around the world. We don't eat them as much in America. Pretty interesting, grinding them up, putting them in as food additives, and there's many, many more examples. So that's the second of these solutions that are kind of the high tech. Let's go to the next one. Now the low tech. So this is my favorite because in life, if you have high tech, it's like those crazy examples from the pharmaceutical drug ads where they're like, the side effects include like list of things you never want to have, right? When you make things like mushrooms into bacon-like flavor or seaweed and protein, if you read the ingredients of some of those Impossible burgers, there's all kinds of things that aren't directly natural. So Earth, Mother Earth, has really been the source of us, right? This is the ashes to ashes. If we can keep it simple and we can keep it low tech, we are going to reduce the potential risk of unknowns. So this is an idea with the microgreen superfood and a little starter kit that I'm going to show you today. It is affordable, fast, easy, and nutritious. So there's going to be more information, but I'm going to hold these up because microgreens are baby plants. These are the first 7 to 10 days of growth of like broccoli, arugula, turnips. All you're doing is capturing the nutrients, sometimes up to 40 times the nutrients in the first week of their life. And you cut them, throw them on salads, throw them on omelets, throw them in smoothies. And the idea is to simplify the whole process and keep it as affordable and easy as possible. Let's go to the next slide. Here's the bat mix. So broccoli has advantages. Heart health. You may not care about your heart like some of the older baby boom does, but it will be an issue. Digestion, fine. Immune system, interesting for COVID. So I've been on basically an 80-20 plant-based diet, eating these microgreens for many years. I'm trying to, exercise enough. When COVID hit, people were really panicked, everyone's in the lockdown. I ended up getting COVID before the vaccine came out. And within the afternoon, just like relaxed, drank a bunch of juice and water, and basically beat this thing in about 4 or 5 hours. I think my immune system was strong enough from being outside, from eating healthy, that I was able to manage that. That's not the case for some of the people that are in the concrete jungle of Philly where I used to live and don't get as many fresh veggies and aren't exercising as much. So we saw a correlation between fitness and the severity of COVID. So this immune system, as you guys grow up, is going to be increasingly important to start building a pattern of eating well to prevent disease down the road. Cancer prevention, not typically on teenagers' minds, but real, as we're seeing the complexity of the world start to shape all those different things we put in our bodies, not to mention the things in our environment that include like new sneaker smell. Well, like that's not natural, right? The glue in carpets, all those things can impact the cancer. And the more you can do in the beginning to prevent and eat healthy, the better. Arugula. We talked about sports earlier. Sports performance, that's muscle recovery, blood pressure reduction, also cancer, vision protection. Again, all these things as we're getting older as a culture. Remember the average life expectancy was in its 40s and 50s just a few generations ago, and now it's extended. But you want to live well. You want to have a healthy life cycle, not just in age. Okay, when we talk about wound healing, liver detox, prevention of bad breath, body odor, turnips, skin health, hair, all good things, right? Reducing anemia, osteoporosis, cancer, diabetes, improved digestion, sleep, mood, and even sun-damaged skin. So these are great, crazy good things, great for your body. The challenge becomes, how do you get the balance where it's not a burden to get this into your system? Let's go on to the next slide. I'm going to talk about this human population of Earth has more than doubled. Well, I'm 56, born in 66. In this arc of 50 some years, the population has doubled. I don't know of any apex predator or any animal on Earth where in the life of one of the animals, the whole species has doubled. So that means we've got some issues with food. If each of us took the handful of minutes to grow a tray like this at home, we could start to reduce the burden that humans have on the planet. The volume of humans will not be necessarily supported by what we have here on Earth. The quick and dirty of how this grows is there's a mat underneath this. And so the roots come in, and the first of the steps, which is in the little handout for you guys, is about seeding the mat. So this is all something that could be totally available for you guys. It's a handful of dollars to get a little kit because these are just a few dollars each. $1 of seeds can make about $10 of food. So after spending like $10 to get a little kit, then you're off to the races. The seeds go on in a very simple way where you're basically just sowing them. And if you think of the process as just spreading, this is designed, and the studentfarmers.org is a nonprofit that put this together. So I'm the spokesmodel today. You know, this is just literally about spreading seeds over the course of the mat. And the spray bottle that comes with it, when they're evened out, is really just about pushing the water through, so it's holding those seeds into a germination state that is basically dark. So the steps are seeds over the pad, spreading them around with the fingers. Then they give you the second one, which is the top. So this closes and it sits for a few days on the counter in the kitchen. After 3 days, very fast, it starts to look yellow like this. I will put this back on my windowsill this afternoon, and it will turn green within about 3 or 4 hours. And then for the next week, spray or water each morning and afternoon, and you've got food. So I delivered 27 minutes ago, before I started this presentation, literally down the road, these to the Juice Pod, which are selling for $6 at Mom's Organic Market. They get them for about half that price because we just give them product every week. If you think about one of these trays, $6 would be 24 bucks for less than $1 of seeds. So it's unusual in business that something that was $1 would make something that is more than 10 times the value in a single week. Right? Whole companies spend a year trying to produce a 10% margin, where they would be happy with $1 turning into $1.10 of actual yield. Okay, the reason this is important relative to the planet is this is a small, micro solution to a much bigger problem. And the reason the name of this talk is Future Food right now is that these are the kind of actions that you can take, as opposed to trying to build for the school a greenhouse or a shipping container farm and change the way that they purchase the food. But the idea is taking action as individuals. Let's go on to the next one as we wrap up for today. Whole foods like microgreens are good for you and good for the planet. Support local growers with your parents and your friends and yourself, so your dollars can be a vote on how you impact the planet. And grow food either right at home, on site if it happens to be, maybe it's one of your parents' businesses, or on campus here at school. We will have an internship program for the spring and summer if people are interested. As the president of the agrarian group, we are focused laser sharp on all of these things that I've been talking about. And there's program contact information that I can give you on what we're doing with those initiatives. I've put my email up here, charlie@theagrariangroup.com. Thank you for listening today.